So first signed up, we have Ryan Whitton. If you please come identify yourself, and then, so how this works, I just have timer on my phone, 5 minutes. I'll give you a minute warning if you'd like. And then.
Would you like me to stand here or?
Do we have them on camera right there? Yeah, you're on camera. Is that what you like?
Okay, so
Yeah, it's right there. So you ready?
I'm ready when you are.
Okay, go for it.
If it's all right with you, I'd like to tell a story for 5 minutes. I knew a little boy that grew up in Granite Falls, and we're going to call him RJ for the sake of protecting his privacy. RJ experienced a lot of unthinkable trauma as a child, things that probably a kid should never experience. No kid should experience trauma, but the level of trauma for this child was far greater than what was imaginable. He watched his father abuse his mother, struggle with violent addiction that prevented his dad from being the father that everybody knew that he could be. Because of this, RJ suffered. His academics suffered. His behavior suffered. Elementary school was tough for RJ. It was many tears, many difficult days, a lot of extra support from teachers and support staff, such as paraeducators. You see, RJ was actually a very bright young child. RJ had been identified as highly capable, ironically, but because of the risk factors in place in his life, he struggled to thrive how he should have. Made it through middle school, but really only because of a great wrestling coach that held him accountable and the opportunity to play sports, specifically track. He's really good at that. He's very fast. When RJ reached high school, he battled depression, suicidal tendencies. He found solace in his technology classes with certain teachers, playing sports such as football, basketball. He could not and would not have even made it to school at all if it were not for district transportation. His life circumstances didn't allow it. When he became a senior, his mental health worsened, more thoughts of suicide, fighting, lots of trouble. He spent a majority of his time with favorite teachers, teachers' assistants, and a very loving staff member that took an interest in him. The staff member observed concerning behavior from RJ, things like word slurring, poor attendance, a lack of engagement and commitment to school. So after many meetings with this student, some very thoughtful, articulate, highly accountable questions, RJ admitted to a problem with substances, drug abuse. The staff member quickly took action, pulled some strings, organized meetings with his family, became an advocate, the advocate that he never had, to get the help they needed. Little did she know that before she was finally able to get him resources to get the help that he needed before that final meeting, before he accepted help, he had attempted suicide and failed, and was determined on the next attempt to succeed. That final attempt was never made because of the support that he had received, because of the love that he had experienced from somebody in the school that noticed him. After returning to school from inpatient treatment, RJ began to excel in his classes. Great grades, he was proud of who he was becoming. He was put on a special education plan that allowed him to receive extra resources from the district in order to ensure his success and security and safety. He eventually graduated with scholarships, awards, was able to look in his mother's eyes and see something other than concern. Later on in life, he committed himself to helping both adults and children that experience similar circumstances experience opportunity and success. My name is Ryan James Whitton. I am RJ in that story. And if it had not been for the extra support that I received as a child, I would not be here speaking to you. I would be in a casket. If this levy doesn't pass, I worry what will happen to the kids like me. What will happen if they do not receive the resources that they need? All of those resources that I mentioned are at risk of extinction without this funding. This funding is for my kids. They're sitting right here next to me. This funding is for your kids. This levy is not about money. This levy is about opportunity. After COVID, my daughter returned to school, greatly in need of connection with, which
RJ,
many of you can probably understand.
yeah, about 30 seconds.
Great.
Okay.
She wasn't able to get a Chromebook, wasn't able to do IR tests, use iReady, education programs that were incredibly important to her success. My son struggles with sensory processing disorder, receives special services. If it were not for his paraeducators, he would still be experiencing the violent consequences of those behaviors, but instead now he's thriving. Your vote can be the difference between hardship and opportunity for our youth. So for the future and dreams of our children, vote yes.
That's time. Thank you so much, Ryan. Next, we have Carol Panegas.
Well, I'm here tonight to, number one, say thank you. Thank you for running this levy again. Thank you for your service to our two new board members. Thank you. I thank you for running this levy again because it gives people like me that second chance to talk to my neighbor, to talk to the people that simply forgot to vote, or actually just a little perturbed with you guys sitting there, so they thought they just wouldn't vote. They didn't vote yes, they didn't vote no. They just didn't vote. And now I have that opportunity to let them know what that means. Because an absent vote or a no vote, it hurts the kids that are farthest from educational justice. Doesn't hurt me, doesn't hurt my taxes, doesn't hurt you. It hurts those kids. I've been in education, was in education, I'm retired now, for 45 years. I've been in, just in the state of Washington, I've been in 3 different school districts. I've been in districts when levies passed and when they didn't pass. And the ones that suffer are our kids. Just all the things that Ryan mentioned, the transportation, the special education. You all know I was in special ed for probably 30 of those 45 years. And 20 of them right here in Granite Falls. Those kids need the services. They need the technology. They need the transportation. They need the paraeducators. They need the school psychologists. We aren't allocated the school psychologists that it takes to serve our children, or the speech therapists. The district has to have levy dollars to pay for those. So I thank you again. Thank you very much for running this levy again, for getting all this information out there so that people such as myself can take it and run with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. John Nisley. And please remember to introduce yourselves. I keep forgetting to mention that.
My name is John Nisley. So President Butler, Superintendent Dr. Middleton, Board of Directors, Ms. Freeman. I couldn't say it better than RJ said it up here. I'd also like to tell a story. I think, you know, I learned a long time ago, a former student of mine looked me up and remembered how I made that student feel when that student was in school. And I think our students, long after they've been in school, they remember how somebody made them feel versus maybe what they taught them. And so it reminded me when I was in 6th grade and my family moved up to the state of Washington. My dad was my high school principal, and my dad took over on Alaska after they had just had a double levy failure. So as a 6th grader, I remember the impact that it had on the community. I remember there was no sports, there was no transportation, there were no activities. My dad, when he took over, every teacher left. My dad had to hire the entire staff. And as a 6th grader, I remember this. I remember there was no Friday night football game. games. They actually did, each class had a flag football team. And so on Friday nights, they would play one class against another class. I remember lots of students left the community to go, so they could play sports in another school district. So many years later, I remember that impact that it had. And I was only a sixth grader and still remember that for my dad as a principal and for that community, a very similar sized community to Granite Falls. So next, I'd like to talk about my experience as a first year principal at Granite Falls High School. And with the levy dollars, when I first took over, we didn't have any school monitors. And so Mr. Main and I came, that was one thing we came to the district and talked about the safety and security of our campus, making sure that our bathrooms were safe, making sure our locker rooms were safe, making sure that the perimeter of our school was safe. And so we were given 2 positions for that. And so both of the individuals that we're able to hire have made not only our campus safer, but they're great relationship builders. So they're not out looking for kids to get them in trouble, but a lot of our students look to them because they're an adult that cares, an adult that reaches out and makes connections with their students. And so that's some of the impact that I see if we're not able to pass this levy, then our schools aren't as safe and they're not as open and as friendly and as inviting to our students. And so, like RJ said, I think about our students, and I think about that our school is that safe place. And as I'm looking to bring social emotional learning class to all incoming freshmen, that would be another impact with the levy. And having a program that provides these soft skills that our students dearly need to help them be able to safely navigate through school and be able to learn how to advocate for themselves and get along with each other and get along with adults. And then all the services that also mentioned that help all of our students feel invited and feel like they have a safe space. And so again, I hope our community understands that it's about our kids and that this is a great community and it's a beautiful place. And I think that now we think that the impact that second levy bill would have on our community. So bring that to attention. Thank you.
Thank you.